I launched, and I was about 300 feet from the ground. My throttle cable broke.
Okay.
And it took me some seconds, like, oh, nothing's happening.
Welcome back, guys, to the Paramotor Adventure Stories. Last time we discussed about the road trips, and now it's getting even more exciting. So today we want to discuss supported cross-country adventure flying. We have our guest Jean-Francois with us. He's the most competent pilot I know to discuss this thing. He did a few truly amazing adventures. One of them being the over 1,000 miles Rio Grande flight, supported adventure with a group of pilots, counting all the way to 9 and 13. The other one was the really a breakthrough in the paramotoring. That was the 6,000 miles paramotor adventure within 40 days. I'm really looking forward for your stories. In the previous video, I kind of dealt with road trips, which it's kind of the easiest way to enter adventure flying, because you fly in unknown places, but you land on the same spot where you took off, so you land back at your car. But now let's talk about the cross-country flying. That means you fly from A to B to C and to D and so on and so on, and you did a few adventures like this. You did unsupported and supported also. And now my question would be, what were the situations or the stories where you were really grateful to have your support crew following you?
Well, it really makes all the difference to have somebody following you. Mainly, it just take a lot of things away from your own responsibility to get ready to carry more weight. And I'll go into detail, because it's true, if you're alone, it's just a lot more pressure. That's what is happening. When you're with somebody, you have time to get organized. Hey, you even have your lunch ready sometimes when you land, which is very good, which is very fun. But yeah, it really makes all the difference. It makes the trip more enjoyable. You don't have to struggle as much, which is when you're unsupported, you're all alone, we'll say, and you have to deal with all the issues. But mainly, it really made everything so much lighter, and that's a big pleasure. And also, when we did the Rio Grande, it was a group, so it was a group fun, it was a group event, and it was a group motivation. Everybody was just happy to be together, to be flying together. Everybody was pretty light because they all had their own ground support. If you have an issue, well, it was interesting because when we flew as a group, because everybody has his own ground support, if one person had an issue or thought he was going to have an issue, they would just say, well, I'm going to land, and they had their own ground support. The group just kept going. We didn't have too much of that, but that's very nice. That was kind of a requirement. So, welcome to come, but make sure you have your own ground support, or find somebody in that group that will be part of your team. Like that, you are responsible and they are responsible for you.
Yeah.
So the fact that you are supported, and it doesn't matter how long you're going to fly for, it doesn't really matter the distance, but you leave everything to the driver to carry for you. Spare parts, which is true. So I still always keep some tools with me, and all the weight, because you don't have to carry, you just carry the water pretty much. Some tools, some water, a little bit of food, communication system. And as long as you're communicating with them.
Yeah, I remember you saying that your gear weight for the unsupported flight was 72 kilo, 160 pounds. That was crazy, but it really makes a difference. But were there any situations, for example, that on these supported adventures, where you would think that, well, I would not be able to do this without the support? Did you come across such things?
The issues and the big difference is really that if you're doing unsupported, you cannot really do it for a long distance. It will be a lot of physically it will be very, very demanding. Unless you decide to carry a minimum, which is just a toothbrush, toothpaste, and one t-shirt, and that's pretty much it. You still carry oil, and you just minimize everything. But in that case, if you have an engine out, and you have to spend a night somewhere or 2 nights, and the weather is bad, you're in the mountain, you still need to stay covered, properly covered, you need to stay warm. So that means you don't want to live along the essentials. So if you go unsupported, you still need to carry a minimum, and the minimum is very heavy, unfortunately. So when we supported, we had a minimum, knowing that somebody was watching us, and it was easy to get somebody. When we did the Rio Grande, USA flying, we had 2 buggies in the trailers in case we needed. We had 2 motorcycles in case we needed to go and get somebody. I even brought my trial motorcycle. And I thought, well, if somebody lands somewhere that's very bad, I can just go very fast, have some fun, and go and find him within the hour or so. And by foot, it would take like 2 or 3 days.
I like the fact you're trying to find fun in a search and rescue operation. That's really cool.
I had that bad reputation during the Rio Grande because every time we were talking about danger, the guys, that's what they were saying. They were saying, oh, Jean-François is so happy if there's an issue somewhere, he's going to be all excited that he can take his motorcycle out and go and help somebody to get out of trouble. But yeah, it's just so much easier to be supported. Also, when you arrive, like I said earlier, you have your fridge, and so you have your food, and you have your restroom, and you don't have to go and look for gas. The gas comes to you. Oil is right there.
So you have a much wider range of landing options.
Landing, freedom, landing, yeah.
You can land anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere along the road, as long as you find a place that is big enough, you can do that. So when we did the Rio Grande, we did some cutting across in some places, but mainly 1 or twice. Most of the time we're not too far from the road, which helps. Now, when I was supported during my 6,000 miles trip, I did some pretty amazing, dangerous shortcut. I just went straight. So even by being supported, sometimes I had to wait for 5 hours for the guys to get to me.
So you were that faster than the support car?
Yeah, Mexican road, all the topes, all the speed bumps, road winding, going all these villages where you have to go slow. No, it was a pretty much of a nightmare for them. They were driving. In the US was a lot easier. During the Rio Grande, it was just a walk in the park. It was just fine and smooth for everybody. Everybody had a good time. The driver in Mexico was not very happy, and I don't blame him. You know, one time I flew for 8.5 hours, one day, maybe a few days, and the guy was driving for about 12 to 14 hours to get to me. It was not fun. And for him, yeah, it was not fun for him.
That takes me to a question. How do you manage to convince someone to sacrifice his comfort and spare time to be your support car driver?
Family nephew, just getting out of school, done with school, it's like, great, I come and I follow you. I'm going to improve my English, I'm going to improve my Spanish, I'm going to film for you, I'm going to do everything is needed. Yeah.
So it wasn't like you paid someone?
No, I didn't pay.
It's always a favor.
No, it would have been too expensive.
Yeah, it's always a favor. You don't hire taxi drivers to be your support car.
And on this kind of 6,000 miles, it's a lot of time. It takes a lot of time out of somebody. It really has to be very relaxed and happy and really want to do it.
I mean, if you fly 6,000 miles, that means the driver had to drive probably 8,000 or 9,000 miles.
Yeah, just about. I think they drove about, because we had to go all around all the way to Cancun back. So I think it was about 15,000 miles driving. That's a lot of miles. That's not fun. Even more when you have the camper on the back and the trailer.
So the major advice to our YouTube viewers is that don't tell your support crew how hard it's gonna be in advance, because they will never.
Keep it short.
They will never commit.
do a 3 or 4 days trip and find some friends and family.
Yeah. How okay? 6,000 miles, 40 days. I'm sure there were plenty of days where you were grounded, that you could not fly at all because it was, I don't know, too windy or raining or.
3 days.
3 days only.
Yep. One time wind one time fog / clouds. And I got some afternoon also, but it was not the day, it was just some afternoon or some mornings. And the third time that was in, I forgot what it was, but I think it's 3 times. Yeah, only, which is not too bad. The weather was very good during the 6,000 miles trip. During the Rio Grande, it was like about 2 days, not be able to fly. Only.
But even those 2 days, I'm imagining from like unsupported, that means you're grounded all alone. You have no place to leave your gear, and go for, I don't know, hiking or on some other activities. You need to stay with your gear, and it might be a pretty boring time to wait for the rain.
Yeah, boring, not fun. I do agree. When I did my unsupported trip from New Mexico to California, first time it was camping. There's nothing there, so luckily the weather was nice the next day. The second day was landing at the gas station. Luckily the weather was nice again. The second day. Yeah, I got lucky, but you're right. It's nice to be supported, have a place where you can rest and relax and take a nap during the day, take a nice shower if you can, if you have enough water, clean up your gears, inspect everything.
Yeah, cool. Have you had a need for some like spare parts that it was, you had a crash or anything and it was, oh good, that a support car is here because I have a new prop, I can continue.
Yes, during the Rio Grande, no problem. I think we only got one guy had an issue. Very happy we were around. And during my 6,000 miles, I didn't need anything. One time the prop, but it was not even broken. It was a little cracked from some rocks. So I could have done it without it, but I have plenty of spare parts. So yeah, there's no way you could do it. Yeah, there's no way you could do 6,000 miles without being supported.
No.
Yeah, it would be just way too much for anybody. Even 1,000 miles would be a lot. 2,000 miles, yeah, why not, I guess, but you have to really control your weight, not your physical weight, but what you carry. And it just takes only one little misstep to damage something. So it's true that if it's supported, you don't have to carry that extra weight. It makes everything safer on launch and landing. Even more if you land and the wind just kind of shifts and you get like a little tailwind suddenly. I got that once. Oh, you know what? One time that was during my unsupported trip, and that happened. Unfortunately, that's good for people to know. Well, I guess maybe not. Maybe you'll cut it off. But I launched, and I was about 300 feet from the ground. My throttle cable broke.
Okay.
And it took me some seconds. Like, oh, nothing's happening. Oh, the motor is still running. Oh shit, the throttle cable broke. And I was just leaving the place I was climbing, and suddenly I started to go down. Power line in the way, so I was able to go above it, but I didn't have time to pull my trim to get ready for landing. And I landed with 160 pounds on my back. I don't know how I didn't hurt myself. I landed in the ditch, but I landed on the uphill of a ditch. I just went boom, and I stopped right there, full speed.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, much better to not be too loaded. Yeah.
So guys, do you need to be rich to start this kind of adventure flying, or just?
Not at all. I mean, you just need to have your brain open to do something like that. That's the way I look at it. You can spend a lot of money if you do something like I did, because it was 40 days, and total was more like 2.5 months. Because I stopped in some places, spent a week somewhere and spent a day somewhere, but it was expensive in gas and tolls in Mexico. If you do it around your own state, around your own country, it's just a nice weekend or a long weekend, 3-day flight, 2 nights outside on the road. It doesn't cost any more than the gas you want to put in it.
What are the other costs? Okay, so your support crew.
Family and friend, that's what it would be at the beginning, and if it's not.
And then you need either car, trailer, camper, whatever would do the job.
Yes.
That you probably have anyway. And
because people that want to do the trip are Paramotor pilots, so they need something to move around anyway.
Yeah. So basically you need a car, support driver willing to sacrifice his time. It's probably the most costly thing is the spare time, is the vacation to most people.
And that's why you can start very small, just going for a long weekend. Sometimes you have
Yeah, it
like
could be
3
5
days.
days, doesn't have to be 40. Doesn't have to be 40, it could be 5.
Because the idea of the adventure just stay exactly the same. It doesn't matter if you go for 4 days or 40 days. It's very true. You have plenty of time to get lost somewhere. You have plenty of time to have some risk of landing and some fun to talk at the end of the day with your friends by the fire. So it is at the end, the cost is kind of, you can just make it where you want to be. It's true that if somebody said, I want to go to the hotel, well, it costs more money. Camping is the best way to do it.
Now, as you describe your Rio Grande and the 6,000-mile adventure with all these supports, it's just completely different from what I did the Icarus Trophy, which was unsupported. You know, sleep well, eat well, have fuel waiting for you, and improvise on landing and choose the landing independently of fuel, hotel, and accommodation, just to be close to the road. It's suddenly a completely different story. So that leads me to the next type of adventure, meaning flying unsupported. But we will cover this in the next chapter. So guys, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next chapter when we will talk about unsupported cross-country flying. And we will have Jean-Francois with us to tell his story again. Thank you.